Okay, beginning. Uh, this video is going to be about StreamYard versus StreamLabs, and basically which is better. The reason why you would want to watch or look at this video is that you've been thinking about making videos on something like YouTube or other platforms, but you're not sure what software to use and you don't know which path to take because there's a number of options. And you don't want to end up spending all kinds of time and money and then finding out after like a month or two realizing that you should have gone down another path. The example I use from personal experience is sophomore year of high school. I had a choice between taking English composition versus Algebra 2, and didn't discover or realize when I signed up for courses junior year that you needed to take Algebra 2 sophomore year to take Introductory Analysis junior year to be able to take Calculus senior year. Instead, I had taken English composition, and even asking people, no one really made it clear what the difference was. The difference being that English composition really doesn't lead to anything additional. Disclaimer, this isn't professional advice. I don't have any certifications or anything. Also, I don't want anyone YOLOing their life savings into something I tell them and then blame it all on me when it turns out poorly. And fair use policy, I may mention things that are trademark or copyright, but I'm only doing it in a limited format to discuss about them and not violating those copyrights or trademarks. Alright, so basically StreamYard and StreamLabs, they both have free versions and they have various options, and here are the websites that you can download each. I also put down restream.io because usually people once they start wanting to stream to multiple platforms, while both programs have some predefined add-ins, they also will probably benefit from using something like Restream. I've seen some YouTube creators using that. Basically, they use Restream to manage all the platforms that they stream to. At the moment, this video itself is being done with StreamLabs OBS and then going off to Restream. And the main question on which is better is it depends. In typical, StreamYard will do everything that you need to make a broadcast within a few minutes. It's very easy to set up. Some of the more advanced features like adding people and such are easy to do also. And for a lot of people, that may be the only thing that you ever need to do, or as much complexity you ever need. The problem starts coming with StreamYard. If you want to do all kinds of things where you're going to have multiple video and audio showing on the screen, or various chat boxes, or maybe even some specialized programming from various what they call widgets, then that's really beyond what StreamLabs can do, and it's more, StreamYard, and it's more something that StreamLabs OBS would be used for. However, I would suggest at the beginning, anyone starting out and has no idea of any of the hardware or software or what the various platforms can do, is just start with StreamYard. You see what it can do, you get something working, and then eventually you'll think either, I wish I could add this, or it did this, and you can see if StreamYard will do it, and if it does, you add it, and if not, you'll probably find that StreamLabs OBS will do it. And that's when, if you get to that, ever get to that point, then you make the transition between the two. And my own thing, if you look at my channel, I have some replays of a war game, which I did all with StreamLabs, and they were all free. As long as you don't go over the 20 hours a month broadcast time. But this one I started doing with StreamLabs because I wanted to start adding like counters on the screen and such. Some of the other reasons for migrating, well, again, I just went over them. If you want to start adding all kinds of widgets, chat box, multiple audio video sources, also if you want to start doing something with multiple platforms, YouTube is the big platform. However, the question is, Is that always going to be the case going forward? Um, People are concerned about being canceled or getting strikes on YouTube. However, it's also possible that for whatever reason, someday Google decides that YouTube isn't profitable or not profitable enough and pulls the plug and nobody steps in. Also, a concern about advertising. Maybe there's an advertiser that you want, but they're not on YouTube or they can't use YouTube, so you can actually go and get them on another platform. Um, Multiple platforms always recommended. Again, for the starting out, you start out with YouTube. Then on the future, you go to multiple platforms, simply to make sure, there's always a possibility maybe something goes wrong. There's YouTube on their server farms has an outage, whereas one of the other platforms doesn't, so you can just still broadcast from there. One of the interesting things that's happened within the last several years, there were a number of people pre-2016 that were doing quite well on YouTube. Either they were making additional money each month, so, it wasn't like they were just spending time on a hobby. They were actually, it was paying for itself or even profitable. And there were some people that were actually, that they were relying it on an income. Down at the bottom, I mentioned a few guys. There's a guy named Eli. He has two channels, Eli the Computer Guy and also the Daily Blob. Basically, the Computer Guy channel is more for computer tutorials, which he had 1 million subscriptions on. And then the Daily Blob was more for news of the day. So in the morning, he'd make like a 3-4 hours on Eli the Computer Guy. And then in the afternoon, he would have a live stream with 50 to 100 people. And pre-2016, he was doing rather well on it. However, 2016, for whatever reason, YouTube started changing the ad rate. There's also a possibility maybe there's just simply a flood of platforms and advertising really isn't selling for that much anymore. And his revenue started dropping off. He's not given exact specific numbers. However, iterations within the past year or two, he's actually started migrating more to what he calls a Silicon Dojo, education free to the end user, where people show up in person. So for him, while he's still doing broadcasts, he's not doing them as much as often. Another common one, Louis Rossman, has 1 million subscribers. He runs a Mac repair shop in New York City. However, he's indicated the same thing, is that, while he likes doing the videos, and he enjoys the interaction with his viewers on his live streams, the amount of money that he gets from it is just simply dropped off a cliff. And while he still does it, he's sort of indicated that, if all of a sudden tomorrow the channel went away, he wouldn't really be upset or anything over it. However, it shows that for whatever reason into the future, people making content on YouTube, they're not going to be able to rely on an advertising model. And as I view it, they're probably going to have to be some sort of subscriber-based thing where people are signing up for some sort of monthly subscription plan, and basically you're donating money to the creator because you like their content and you want them to continue doing it. Usually it's through something like Patreon or Subscribestar, sometimes as little as $1 a month. YouTube in the recent few quarters actually has issued statements indicating they're finally making a profit, but it's hard to tell if that's going to continue on into the future or not. My expectation of the future, as hardware and software and internet costs drop, it's probably going to be harder for YouTube to maintain their almost near monopoly or most share of the revenue. As an example, hardware, 20 or 30 years ago would have been outrageously expensive. Now next to my desk, I have a Dell PowerEdge 410, which probably could be loaded up with several terabytes of disks in an array. And for about $250 a month, I could pay for a 1 gigabyte symmetrical line into the town hall, the local town internet service. 10 or 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago, some of that would have been impossible or would have been extremely outrageously expensive. Now we're getting it down to the realm where just about anybody who wants to spend like $1,000 or $2,000 could actually set up a video server with a streaming service. Here I have some examples. Basically, this whole business model is really based upon selling ads. While the content is important, the revenue is really coming from the ads that advertisers are buying for it. With any of this media, basically you get down to the point or understanding that if they could show absolutely nothing, like no broadcast, a blank screen, and have advertisers pay them for it, that would be great. Or just have something that just was all advertising, no content. The problem is it doesn't work. Typically in any of these things, newspapers, television, cable, what's happening is that the subscribers are paying for the service. So like newspapers, you're the cost per paper or whatever you're paying per week or per month or per year is actually the cost to get the paper delivered to your house. And then the paper, assuming they're profitable, they're making their money on the advertising they sell to people for buying like full page ads or quarter page ads, or the placements for like an obituary and such. Same thing with television. In this country, there's no subscriber revenue. However, there are some countries like England where if you want to watch TV, you're supposed to have a viewer license, and they actually even have police that go around, or authorities checking to see who has a TV aerial out on top of their house but don't have a license for that. Cable came along, and again, this transition between these first few early ones, newspapers to radio to television, we're running in about 30-year cycles. The cable television, the whole idea behind paying for cable service for the same content you would get over the air on TV was you weren't going to have any ads. Of course, as time went on, they started putting in all kinds of ads, plus some cable channels with nothing but ads, where they actually paid the cable system to carry the channel. So the cable system was making money running the ads. And actually, even in recent years, on top of that, you even have advertising within programs, not just in designated 20 or 30-second blocks. Usually they'll advertise like another one of their programs, or maybe another channel's programs, with what they call a birdie in the lower right-hand corner, where you'll be watching a program, and then all of a sudden there'll be a display of some like avatar or something talking about a program coming up. Variation I've seen on this is in Europe, that usually they group all the advertising at the beginning or the end of the program in 5-minute segments. I saw that when I was in Lugansk, Ukraine. Today with the internet, it's cutting into everything and lowering the price of advertising. Plus, it's flooding people with all kinds of content. So the question is, the price of advertising overall is probably going down, since advertisers are getting less return for their money. And then, of course, the question is, what is the future? One last recommendation I would have on anyone doing any of this, no matter what you do, first get something working 100%. And again, that's why my recommended path is StreamYard to YouTube, because you can start that up within a few minutes and make a broadcast. Again, here's StreamYard, very simple screen. You click there to create a broadcast, and within a few minutes you can have actually something going live on YouTube, and you don't really need to do anything else. Here's StreamLabs. You go there and download it for when you're ready, and Restream as an example. This is this broadcast moment at the moment. So like I got 3 setups. So unfortunately, for whatever reason, DLive isn't going. Tovo is going, and then of course this is me onto YouTube. But again, the important thing in any of this is to get something working and then work from that. And depending upon what's going on, you may find other platforms. Thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe, and I welcome comments and questions.